presentation here. Claudio will tell us something about improving, if you like, please.
Yeah. Thanks very much for coming, joining us, and support the community at Improving. That's part of what we do, is to open our space for communities of all kinds of like technologies and even different subjects that come our way. It's part of what we do as a company. We're an IT consulting company, specializing in agile training and coaching, Scrum, all that kind of fun stuff, as well as helping with the software development and any other kind of consulting in the IT space that we offer. And we are always looking for talent. So if you are looking for a job, or you know of anybody who is, please send resumes our way. Go to our website. There's a place there to contact us, or if you want to send to either one of us, I'm claudio.lasala@improving.com, and then Alexis has his email up there. You can email either one of us. And yes, sir.
Improving your nonprofit?
We are not a nonprofit.
You are?
We're a for-profit company. Yes, we follow the conscious capitalism philosophy, right, where we are not just about profit, and hence that's why we do this kind of activity. We try to bring something of value to the community. Community brings back, people supporting the community, and it helps us keep going as well. Thank you very much.
As I know, Free Code Camp was tonight. We have that Alexis presentation, speaking my language. Okay, it's.
Hey everyone, thanks everyone for coming again. My name is Alexis Bustos. I'm a consultant here at Improving. I do web development here. My talk is speaking my language. I chose this topic because it's very easy to misunderstand each other and not understand requirements, and it's a skill that's pretty much very necessary when you're building software. You spend a lot of money and a lot of time on things when you build something, you've developed it for X amount of time, and then at the end of the day, your client or the project you're on, they say, this is not what we were looking for. And so how did that happen? Because we didn't communicate well with each other. Yeah, and so that's a little brief introduction for that. There's many instances, right, that this can happen, right? We don't understand necessarily the software that we're building. We don't understand maybe a specific feature. We don't understand the requirements that are a part of building all this. Sometimes we just don't understand what we're asking of each other, right? If we have a big team, maybe someone in my team doesn't understand what is it that we're developing. Who in here speaks a different language? Mostly everyone here. When you've encountered somebody in your life and maybe you don't speak the same language as them, what other ways do you guys try and communicate with each other?
Google Translate.
Google Translate is a great one, yeah. What was that?
Hand signals.
Hand signals, yeah.
Emojis.
Emojis, yeah. We point to things. We try and describe things in maybe the language that we know. But it can get difficult trying to explain to somebody like what exactly we're trying to say. And yeah. So I like to tell this story. I speak Spanish, and there was one day I went to go cut my hair at a barbershop, and I didn't know the guy was first time there. He said, "Oh, this is." He said, I was speaking to him. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Cuba or Puerto Rico, I can't remember." And he's asking me, right, like, "Oh, what do you want? How much do you want from this, from that?" But in the moment, I could not understand him, and even though we're speaking Spanish, I'm like, can you slow down? I can't understand what you're saying. And then eventually, like, we understood each other, and he gave me the haircut roughly of what I wanted. And it was difficult in that moment to explain to him, or him to explain to me, like, what is it that exactly he was doing. And I can relate to that. I can relate that to software development, because if somebody is speaking too fast, right, they're explaining something to you real fast, you are either sometimes missing some of that information, or you're not grasping everything because they're going a little too fast. And it's okay for you to say, hey, can you slow down? I'm not understanding. I'm not capturing everything correctly. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah. When you, another example of like when you want to speak the same language as other people is when you're joining a new team. When you join a new team, they have different practices that that you might not be used to. They might do things a little bit differently that you're not used to, or you might be on a completely new tech stack that you've never worked with before. And that's why I like this, because it's like I don't understand React or Vue or Angular. So if you're put on a project for to build a web page, and one of these is your tools, how are you going to be able to accomplish that? And the point here that I wanted to make was that it's okay for you to not understand the tool to build the software, but you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, to get in the weeds, right, and try and figure out, what you can do to best accomplish what you need to. How many here have used TDD before? Test-driven development. Yeah, I know Claudio does. He loves that. Scrum, anyone here? Yeah, it's a popular one. Agile? Yeah. So again, imagine like you're coming into a new team and they're all about Scrum. All the practices, all the ceremonies, and you're like, man, I don't know what sprint refinement is. I don't know exactly like why is this useful. And once you communicate to your team, like, well, why do you do these certain ceremonies? You start to understand and adapt, and you're able to communicate, well, we do this because it helps improve our workflow and not ask as many questions once we're deep into the actual work. And I love this quote here. The only stupid question is the question that is never asked. I was told this, I want to say like the first or second day when I joined my current client. I just joined. I want to say like a year into working at Improving, and I was very nervous. This was my second client that I was part of. It was a respectful team here that everybody knew, and a lot of smart people were a part of the team. And so I'm nervous, and I'm trying to like figure out like why isn't the project building? Why isn't this working for me? And I'm trying to get the system running, and it was actually Claudio that I was on the call with, and I'm like, hey Claudio, this might be a stupid question, and he stopped me. He's like, the only stupid question is the one that you don't ask, or in some form of that. And so that gave me the like clear headspace that I didn't have to worry about asking any question, because I'm new to the team, but you're just joining, right? You feel like you should be caught up to everyone's standards, or you need to be caught up as fast as possible, and that doesn't necessarily have to happen on day one. You can take your time and build yourself up to where they're at. Let's see. So I mentioned I was with Improving for about a year at this point. I had previously been part of another company, and I remember that I was speaking to the CTO of that company, and they were discussing about bringing on a new feature to their software, and they wanted to put in a scheduler. So they wanted to go into their app and be able to schedule blocks and block people out, and allow people to be able to go in and schedule whatever they wanted. And what I hear is like the CTO, he's like, yeah, I already built it, it's in the system. I have, and I'm like, huh. He's like, yeah, I did it over the weekend. I'm like, okay, cool. Like to me as a college student, I'm like, wow, that's very impressive. You got it knocked out of the park. And I fast forward a few years, like a year later, and I'm now part of the software development team. And I remember them speaking about this, and they're like, yeah, the scheduler is not what we wanted at all. Or all of the people using the system, they were complaining because everything or whatever was built does not work how we would have wanted. And what happened was that the CTO did not gather any requirements. He did not ask them specifically like, what is that you're looking for? He just said, he just knew that they needed a scheduler and went his way and built it however he wanted. And so in my way of thinking about it, it's like he wasn't speaking their language. He didn't take the time to meet with them or gather some form of requirement and try and understand them as to like what they need and why they need it. And now looking back at it, it's like, yeah, you can get a feature done on a weekend, and you could think it's amazing, but if it's not impacting the end user, how are you gonna, like, what's the point of you building this amazing feature if it's not what people are actually gonna want to use and be helpful to them at the end of the day? Who loves meetings? No? Nobody? I don't know. Yeah, you don't mind them?
Yeah, I don't know.
What about when they block your entire day? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much everyone's face when they're like, yeah, I'm gonna add a meeting to the calendar, right? The reason I don't mind meetings anymore compared to I used to, I was part of a team again that their practices weren't the best. So we would meet at sprint planning, for example, and that was at the beginning of our sprint, and we would set out our 2 weeks, and the meetings were under 15 minutes sometimes. Sometimes they were like, you go into the team's call, answer, and get out because no one had anything to say. And so I was like, why am I scheduled off a whole hour if we're just gonna meet for 5-10 minutes and not really discuss anything? And well, what happened was, again, we wouldn't really gather requirements that our stakeholders wanted. And what did that lead to? To unhappy stakeholders. People, the end users weren't satisfied with what was getting put out there. And so what ended up happening was more bugs, complaints, more tickets to try and fix it. And yeah, so again, we weren't speaking their language, right? We weren't grasping what is it that they're asking for, what is it that they want. And we weren't analyzing enough to build the things that they wanted. What are ways that we can speak someone else's language? Let's say we get a feature, and you guys are part of the team. What are ways that you think you can gather some additional information? You have any ideas? So we're in a meeting, and I'm here as the product owner. I want something built, a feature, and you guys are part of my team. What would you say? What would you ask me?
When do you want it done?
When do you want it done? Sure. Why? Why is a great question.
first, why?
Yes, that's a great question.
What's it gonna
How?
cost?
The what?
What's it gonna cost?
Cost, yeah.
How?
How? Right? So why was a good one? Because while I might tell you I want something, by me telling you why I want something, you might think of a way to approach the issue, right? You might be able to say, you actually say you want this button, right? But I can give you a drop down instead because it's actually going to help you attack what you're looking at in a easier way or whatever. Yeah. And how many of us love to just code for the code's sake? You're given a task, or if there's programmers in here, if you're given a task, how easy is it for us to say, yeah, I see the task, great, let me code away and accomplish it. That's pretty cool, pretty fast. We can accomplish it, and it's even better now that with ChatGPT and all these other tools, we can ask ChatGPT, hey, build this feature using Angular and C# and get it done in minutes. But it takes more to be able to understand what is it that they're asking for, and taking the time for us to actually analyze the feature, I guess, yeah. Yeah, that's that. So TDD, I mentioned that earlier today, test-driven development. Would you say you guys like writing tests? Anyone here love writing tests? Not you, Claudio.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Why would you say it's good?
Because you can see your options, your engaging, what options, especially when you have an expecting input from user and you have to give something as output.
Mm-hmm.
What input can user give to you, like wrong or right?
Yeah.
And then what will you do? What is expected outcome of this?
Yeah.
And especially what I like to do is it, how to say that in English. That's really it's bordering cases. When something can go from this side or this side of the border and then mix overlap, and then that's the right thing. Actually, I did it before, like when I write code,
Yeah.
and then use simple numbers if it is input or some simple inputs to calculate something.
Yeah.
Then I use that sample
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
are that can ruin your calculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you write a test, right, and it gives you instant feedback.
Yes,
right.
So now we have that.
Yeah.
We can use that.
Correct. I used to think tests were a waste of time. I did not like writing tests. I thought they were, like, why am I going to spend time writing the test if I have to build this feature out? Because that's possible. And little did I know that working my first job was that, it was taking the QA hours and sometimes even days to test out the entire app that we were using. And I thought at the time it was normal. I was like, yeah, and this QA says it takes a whole day. Okay. And what was happening was that they were afraid of making a change over here, and then it would impact something over here on the other side. And so that's why it was taking so long. When I joined Improving, they heavily push tests and how important they are. And I realized how much time it was taking because You begin writing however many tests you need for your features and such, and you run them. And how long can that take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long. But comparing minute to days, I saw the huge impact. Um, but yeah, when I began writing tests, and I'm still practicing like how I write them. It helps me as a developer understand uh, how the feature exactly works. I talked about getting understanding the users, understanding the stakeholders, and how they might want a feature. And there's all kinds of different business rules and such. And by me writing my tests out, I'm able to exercise like, well, do I actually understand what they're asking for? And this is an example that we have in our current project, and I titled "I Get You Now," right? Because I didn't write this test like um, using code type things. I didn't do any for loops here. I didn't do any specific like C# type thing. If you read this, it's in English, and that's one way of that I know now. Like if I can read it and I can make the test pass, um, then I actually understand what our requirements are. I understand what the stakeholders are asking for. This feature specifically was um, what happened was that the team went out to visit one of the clients, like the client's clients, and we're building a new system to replace their legacy um, system. And while they were out there, they noticed that the users were taking down orders and stuff, and they needed what they were communicating with each other through other forms, whether it's an email or something else. And they had like multiple screens open at once, and to take down information from this certain page, from this certain page, and they would gather all that information, put it in an email, and then from that email send it out to whoever needed it. And it was usually or typically somebody within their system that can access all these things. So what the team decided was, well, let's create a little note thing, so that way I can drop a note in the system, and um, if somebody comes across this feature, they can click on the little button and show me, what the activity that has gone on. If something's changed, it's recorded here, and um, so then bringing that knowledge that they learned outside when they went to visit the location, now coming back home, right, and they're working on implementing something um, to be able to communicate with one another through the system. That's where they came up with. That's where this test kind of came from, right? Like, given a salesperson, it's just a role that somebody has, um, and an existing sales order is just, imagine you're putting in an order in Amazon. And let's say there's information about the note. So let's say you put a order in Amazon, and then I don't know, you say never mind, I don't want this, so you drop it. And usually on Amazon, you can share multiple accounts, right? So let's say wants your partner put in the order, and they're like, no, we're not getting this, and you drop a little note for them. Now when let's say if I wrote the note, my partner now can see the note and like, why did you write this note? Why can I not get my Amazon package? Um, but yeah, that was that. So now that you took time to understand your stakeholders, you understood their requirements, you wrote some test cases. Now everyone for the most part is happy because you're understanding not just the specific C# or specific JavaScript or anything, but you're also understanding the bigger impact. You're understanding the company's problems and how you can best tackle it. You guys get what I'm going to talk about next?
Implementing the, yeah, stuff.
Implementing what?
Implementing the requirement. After you gather the requirement, you implement it.
Platform, yeah. Anyone else like it? No.
Tool.
What was that?
Tool?
Tools? Yeah, you're on the right track. There's a very big tool going around right now.
I have a bunch of them. That's not the only one. Tons of them.
Yeah, AI is a huge tool that you guys can help to that you guys can use to help better understand and communicate with each other.
The tool for tool.
Yeah. You know, if you don't understand certain uh, things of a business rule or something that's out there that is very specific to the industry that the project you're a part of, well, you can go and ask ChatGPT, you know, what is blank, to get more detail out of it, right? So you can build your own knowledge on it. And the more you ask your questions, the more it's gonna tailor to what you're asking, right? So it's gonna get even more smarter, right? AI is super strong, super what is it? Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but even when you're asking AI certain questions, things can get weird. Have you guys ever gotten a weird response or it's not answering exactly what you were asking? I've had that plenty of times. And the reason sometimes that happens to me is because I'm over here asking it dumb questions in my like a stupid questions. For example, I had this piece of code that I don't know what's wrong with it, and I just told it to fix it. I don't like. I'm assuming it knows exactly what I want, and no, it gave me an answer, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, no, this is not what I meant. There's a bigger problem here that I don't understand. So now I'm not speaking AI's language, if you want to say. I'm not speaking my language. I don't know. We're not understanding each other. So
Can you verify the code?
you can ask it if verify this code is correct, yeah.
Now going through the certification.
But what is correct? That's all right.
You can. Actually, surprisingly good at figuring out stuff. You don't say fix it. You say you have to be
Yeah.
Like you're interviewing software and you give them a coding problem and you have to. If you talk to it like that, it usually gets no true.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Probably like a month ago.
Like, ChatGPT, okay.
Yeah.
But I got that on the point, Sean, I get that. It could give you like a correct syntax, but it may not necessarily be what you were looking for.
Correct. Yeah. They didn't know exactly what I was wanting out of this specific function. It didn't know. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I used this for, but
Have you tried to ask to explain everything and then on other session like a couple days later to ask you the same question? Have you tried that?
I have not came back and asked the same question before.
It's very interesting. I had that situation.
Yeah.
I had presentation here. It was how to write a code using ChatGPT. I mean, I don't know anything about, let's say, I don't know that programming language, and I'm asking ChatGPT to write me a code.
Yeah.
And we already had it. It's a calculator. And I asked ChatGPT to write me, and I saw that something is not correct. Ask him to do that again, and finally I got to good code.
Yeah.
And when I tried to show people here, I I said, okay, let me try to ask ChatGPT. And ChatGPT gave me the final answer that I wanted. So ChatGPT learned that stuff. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. It's learning the way
If you are asking a lot of times similar things or asking about one programming language, ChatGPT will understand you, and after let's say weeks or months of training, you will get really good code.
Yep.
Why would you use a different tool?
Well, what was that?
Use a different tool?
Use a different tool? Like what?
Card?
What other tool would I use?
CLAUD?
Cloud,
Oh,
CLAUD.
I have not heard of that.
Cloud, it's like another version. Cloud or yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Cloud. There is.
Yeah. Claudio recently told me about Cursor. Cursor's been great for me too. Yeah.
I've also heard really good recommendations for Perplexity.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So there's a lot of great tools, right, that can help us generate code. You give it a question, you can give it a problem, and it'll fix it. It's the best of that it can, and sometimes it'll give you the answer that you want. Hopefully, it'll give you the answer you want.
I guess you do need to semantic context.
Yeah, you need a semantic context, right? You need if you want it to respond back accurately to what you want, you need to have it understand what you're asking. So if it's as simple as fixing this, how to get a form array, sure, it might. But if you're giving it some kind of business requirement, it might not get exactly what you're asking for unless you're getting detailed in the information that you're giving it. This is a screenshot that I took from Cursor. Right, we can you can prompt it, give it whatever it is that you're trying to. It says, "How can I make it easier to switch certification in the transport listeners?" It seems like the technical question, right? And he asked ChatGPT, it gave it an answer, and what did it do? Within seconds, it wrote the code, and you can hit accept, and it puts it in your editor. Fantastic, right? It did exactly what you wanted. Now, could you take business requirements from whatever feature you're working on, slap it onto ChatGPT, and get exactly what you're asking for? Maybe not right now. Maybe in the future. But it is great at least getting a good starting base for the project that you're doing. Yeah. That's all I have to.
Okay, great. We're talking about AI, and what is your opinion? It will take our jobs, we will lose jobs because of the AI, or not?
It will take the jobs of those that code, and that's all they do. They don't understand the business requirements. They don't understand the business needs. That's my opinion. If you if the developers aren't taking the time to actually understand the business needs, then those developers are probably going to get replaced because AI is a lot faster, and sometimes it's going to produce exactly or similar to what the developer would.
And others? What do you think? I like to ask that question on everything.
We spend a lot of time because
Yeah.
What do you think?
maybe I don't have to, like I needed something people like attention and that's another thing. Like I need to quick for that. I need to like take for example like the trade stock, I might calculate the top 20% or something like that. And I want to implement this type of people like function, right? That would do that for me and focus on actually like bigger picture of the trade strategy. it's just me a thing, and then I even can like try to sort of verify it's correct or how it is.
Yeah.
So it frees up a lot of time to focus on a bigger picture to try and
Correct.
and then rather than digging the weeds of the actual code implementation.
You're not looking anymore at the specific syntax issues or the specific whatever select statement. You're looking more at, what is this feature? What's the value of this feature bringing to the company?
Our new members, what do you think about AI? And will take our jobs?
I
Put us in dungeons and
I kind of like that. I feel like it's somebody that I can bug with questions, and they won't get frustrated. But I also feel like I can't trust it as far as I can throw it. Because I've just kind of, when I've had one of those days where, I've been kind of staring at something and like, I just kind of will put it in AI if it's like a language that, I use pretty frequently, but I have to throw in one of those things where the problem is staring me in the face, but I need a second set of eyes on it. It'll still kind of return things that I can tell don't make sense. Like once it told me, oh, you used too many colons and there wasn't a single colon in the code snippet I sent it. And that was like 2 weeks ago, so this wasn't like back in 2021 or something,
Yeah.
Check the chat. It was ChatGPT.
Yeah, I agree with you something like that. But I think the role of the developer will be kind of changing to more to have to think about how to solve the problem at a higher level rather than focusing on the details like you mentioned in that. Yeah, I think it's a good tool to use. I don't think that it'll replace the math workforce anytime soon, or I hope not.
I think it's like we're all like in a premium model of like AI right now. And then when it starts getting restricted and everyone has to pay for it, it's just going to benefit people who have money versus people, hey, they can't afford to, maybe they even have internet or afford to even pay for the thing. They're going to be at a disadvantage. You see like, you don't know, in other countries, they're very restrictive about the internet and things. So we're fortunate that we don't have some of the restrictions, but once they start putting those restrictions, like I don't know about this new administration, then it's going to be very tough if you're just dependent on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Always have a good base.
Remember that depending on the computer that you're running, you can run the models local without internet connection. So you can still get like generative features of ChatGPT on your local machine without an internet connection.
But that's only for like the people who have that tech skills that can do that. Let's say, you think like someone like
getting to a point where it's like, oh yeah, you download the thing here, you select what model you want to download, good. As long as you're the main thing right now is just the computer power, right? You need a certain power to be able to run that. But think about like hardware, like how much faster does it get like every year?
Yeah.
There's not out of question that say a year from now that you can get a very powerful language model running on a machine that's not like the most powerful.
So I have to say I love your presentation. I like it wasn't so like text heavy. It was just like very, hey, explain. I love like when you explain like some story and personal stuff.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna be more.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'd like that you talked a bit about TDD, because I had data analysts, but I worked at a cell phone tower company and now I work in medical research, so I've never worked at like a tech company. So while I'm familiar with Agile and Scrum, this was kind of the first time I heard about TDD, although I was familiar with like testing. So I appreciated learning about that.
Awesome.
It's the second time, second consecutive meetup where we talk about testing.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to find somebody who will talk about that.
Oh, if we knew somebody who could talk about that.
Yes, yeah, I'm testing from so I But I think if you know somebody who improving comes here to explain how you are doing, they give us a general overview how what is it, why you are using, how you are using. I mean, it's like introduction that we always have to go, especially when we have good presentations. We have to go home and learn more about it if it is interesting.
And what is BDD? I might have missed what
Behavior driven development.
about it. That's all.
Any other questions?
Yeah. AI will enable all of us to become BTD developers.
That you think so?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because once you don't have to worry about the nitty-gritty stuff, then you can focus on actual business logic and behavior.
I think we are doomed. They will put us in the revolution fast and
That I'm in dark, they're gonna put this down.
I mean you all watched that documentary, the Terminator 1, 2, 3.
And then watching Idiocracy.
Oh, that's awesome.
That.
See, last year there was a Google AI book. He gave a talk here in Berkeley. Like he does actual, well, he used to be in the lead about the language models, but now he's just, one of the questions afterwards, please, when do you think AGI will happen? He was like, no, it's not going to happen. For the foreseeable. But he actually understands how the AI works because behind the scenes there's no actual intelligence. It's just a statistical. It's just a statistical model. It just gives you what it thinks is the most statistical likely word to come up. So anyway, he's an AI expert. Came talk and improving here last year. He said no, he doesn't believe AI will actually use AI. Even giving this cutting edge of AI is so cool.
Very interesting introduction to the way of working. Okay, so thank you very much for this presentation.
Yeah.
It opened a good presentation is when presentation open new questions. And that thing that is AI and
Yeah.
all other stuff what we can learn.
There's a sign up sheet somewhere so you guys can pass it around, please. That'd be great.
Right. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You are
If you're ever open to like speaking at the I would love to.